So right now, we're going to move straight into our business headlines. For help with that, we're going to bring in author, women and wealth expert Carrie Carbonaro, and lending his business acumen for us as well as John Burnett, still in studio. Good morning, both of you. Let's just jump right into those markets. So they kicked off the week closing up this morning. Futures are also up ahead of the opening bell. John, let's start with you. So House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's plan to lift the nation's debt ceiling another year. So what would this mean for the government and the American people?
Well, it should end the debate, right? Because the Republicans saying, well, some people on the right and left saying that we should actually have a discussion about it. But Speaker McCarthy stepped forward, showed leadership, and said we will raise the debt ceiling. But now the discussion pivots to spending, and that's where the rumble will start, because President Biden and the Democrats are saying that they don't want a dime cut out of current spending, which doesn't make sense. Why? Because we already have over $30 trillion in debt at high interest rates, and the spending cannot continue. Why? Because it's actually pushing out investments in other areas like infrastructure and things that we should be focusing on that stimulates jobs and gives America what it needs to fuel future growth.
Absolutely. This next one, John, I know you want in on this one, but Carrie, I'm going to start with you. So David's Bridal says 1 in 4 brides wear their dresses on their wedding day. So Carrie, why then is the company filing for bankruptcy and also laying off 9,000 workers? I mean, that's a huge part of their workforce.
Yes. Well, so it's interesting because not only did they file Chapter 11, and not only did they lay off 90% of their workforce, but what's happening is they really never recovered from COVID and from the shutdown and from all the lack of weddings for almost 2 years. And the other trend that's happening is women are not having formal weddings as much. They're spending less money. They're doing DIYs. They're shopping online. They're not even going into stores anymore to buy their wedding gowns. And honestly, I don't know if we're going to recover from this. This company may never recover. We'll see.
Yeah. John, jump in there with your thoughts.
Well, the thing is that the reason why they're actually claiming bankruptcy is because they don't know their customer, to Carrie's point. Obviously, trends have changed. And I call it the blockbuster effect. Why? Because they fail to understand competition. They fail to understand new trends in the marketplace and understanding how consumers are thinking about the very business that they're in. A lot of millennials are choosing not to have those very expensive weddings and saying, you know what, I'd rather buy a house. That is smart. We should be encouraging them. So instead of only having a one-size-fits-all, they should have looked at the marketplace and understood that there's different consumers in the bridal market space and said, you know what, let's provide services for each and every one of them. But they failed to do so. And when you fail to understand the customer and understand the market that you're operating in, guess what? Bankruptcy follows.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points from both of you. So moving on a little bit, the truckers union is now challenging the Biden administration's new emissions rules as the government pushes for more EVs. The trucker union are saying this will significantly increase costs and can ultimately hurt the economy as a whole. John, back to you. I mean, what's the concern here?
Why? Because we're actually spending more money that we don't have to stimulate an agenda within the climate change, under the climate change umbrella, at a time in which we need to invest in other areas to stimulate those markets. And at the same time, we don't know where oil will be later this year or going into the 2024 presidential election. Why? Because Saudi Arabia is already cutting, barrels of oil that's produced. And Biden on day one cut, American energy. So that way we're not actually self-sufficient, and he actually drained the oil reserves. So you look at the trucking, the emission standards is going to put more pressure on the trucking industry at a time when potential consumption might actually start to fade over time.
Yeah, it's extremely expensive too. All this EV changeover. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't think they're not thinking about that. Meanwhile, the Treasury Department has now revealed which new cars will be eligible for this new electric vehicle tax credits. Carrie, to you, 16 new models are now eligible, but most are American-made. So what do people need to know if they're in the market for a brand new car?
Sure. So, well, if they want an EV and they want to get the $7,500 credit, the list is much smaller than it's ever been. because we now have GM has 6. There's a few from Ford and a few from Tesla. And the reason being is because the new Biden rules are that you have to have made in the U.S. and from the battery and the minerals. And so the list just keeps getting smaller and smaller if you want to get this tax credit.
Let's just go ahead, John, jump in.
Well, tax credit means tax debt, right? So it's just actually spreading it over all Americans and not just that one person that's receiving it. Everyone else is paying for it. So the thing is that more than half of Americans don't want an electric vehicle, right? So the market is already speaking. So why stimulate something that American people actually don't want?
Absolutely. It's funny because I was back in Georgia with my family this past week on vacation. I was talking about these electric vehicles. There's all these electric vehicle charging stations. We did not see one electric vehicle at those charging stations. I don't see the American people buying this. Let's move on quickly. But Apple delving now into the savings account game. John, let's go back to you. What is Apple now offering that might actually make people consider putting their money into an account? And could this be the beginning of an Apple takeover when it comes to managing your money?
Actually, I got really excited about this news article. Why? Because I can actually use it to talk to my students, in my business management class at NYU. Because Apple is looking at where can they actually extend their brand. And at a time where people are concerned with their bank, who are they going to turn to? A brand that they trust. And I think Apple's strategic partnership with Goldman Sachs is smart. They're offering a high interest rate so people can actually save their money, get a higher interest rate. But guess what? They understand consumer behavior. People will likely save in that savings account, earn a higher interest, but at the same time, upgrade their new phone and have the capital to do it. It's really smart.
Absolutely. Apple, they know how to completely monetize this entire industry. Finally, Carrie, to you, let's talk a little NFL. A record-breaking deal has just reportedly made with the Philadelphia Eagles. QB Jalen Hurts is now the highest paid player in league's history. I mean, Carrie, obviously we think about Tom Brady when we think about record-breaking, but what's behind this deal?
So it's a really great deal, and I'm really excited for him, and he's going to be there till 2028. But what my favorite part about this deal is his agent, who is Nicole Lynn, who is a woman. So this deal was done by an African-American woman, sports agent, and it's the biggest in history.
It's massive.
I'm excited for him.
Jets, Jets.
Oh. All right, guys. Carrie, John, this has been a whole lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys.